my system now with my wonderful internet provider. And so guys, give me 2 more minutes as I just get right into it. So guys, we are live on Facebook and we start Let's Talk every week the same way. Nothing changes. And we are gonna start this week the same way. We do one thing every week, and that is our aim is to take over the world for the kingdom of God. And nothing changes. Same thing we do every week, guys. And so guys, for my first timers, welcome once again to Let's Talk. You could have chosen to be on any platform, anywhere, doing anything, but you chose to be with us today. And for that, I say thank you.
Ray, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
The Pinky and the Brain. Yes, Pinky and the Brain.
Yes, guys. We are here. We are here. And I am happy with all that's happening. Good things, good things. My speaker is here. So for the last couple of weeks, let me just say, maybe the last 3 or so weeks, we've been speaking a lot about vision. We've been speaking a lot about dreams. We've been speaking a lot about accomplishing our dreams, accomplishing our visions, and we've had different speakers on our platform and presenters speaking about their dreams and their vision. My wonderful co-host is here, but he's under my name as we're having technical difficulties, but he doesn't mind. He's my other half. Big up yourself, Mr. Brown, big up yourself. I wear the last name well, so him don't mind being called Natalie Brown tonight. So I just want to say that we have been maintaining a consistency in speaking about purpose. What does a vision look like? What does a dream look like? And how it is that we maintain the momentum in having these dreams and having these visions. And I was really saying, you know, who else can I come on and speak about understanding their purpose, having a vision, having a dream, and going after it, irrespective of every challenge and hurdle. And none other than my friend, my brother, one of my good friend, Clean Osborne. Yeah, Jerry, come right through. He's very dear to my family. He's the godfather of all my boys. And yes, and so we are very close. I didn't choose a formal profile for Robert, more than I have to call him a Reverend Barr, for he is the assistant chaplain in the Jamaica Constabulary Force. So I hold true to his title. It's hard for me to call him Reverend Barr because we are so close. And I think he doesn't mind me not calling him Reverend Barr. But he has a powerful story. And there are two stories I want to share in him sharing his story. He has a very powerful story. And for all my ministers and pastors that are on the line, if you need a very down-to-earth speaker regarding relationship and marriage, he's a go-to person. He keeps it real. Right, Chris? So guys, at this time, I ask that you welcome this wonderful man of God. He is a corrector in the body of Christ. He fears neither evil nor him, not fear nobody, dead, living, tall, short, a fearless man of God that is on a mission to do God's work, not just within the four walls, but also executing out there in the world for God. Robert, welcome to the Let's Talk platform.
Thank you so much, man. No, am I even more afraid to speak now? Given those disclaimers. Really and truly appreciate the opportunity, Natalie, and of course, Chris, just to have this conversation in relation to the whole issue of purpose and what really does it mean to have a purpose in life, and as the flyer and advert said, how do we reach this whole issue, and is it really and truly a straight line? Thanks so much for the opportunity to share this evening. Allow me to welcome all of your I can say all of my no all of my guests on the platform. But let me single out my Wesleyan family, who continues to give support to my family, and I really and truly appreciate it. I see also some of my family members from overseas logged on. That just gonna start get really nervous now.
Welcome, family. Welcome one and all. Yes, get nervous, Robert, because we're going to talk the things them.
Yeah.
And I don't want you to hold back, because I want you to share your journey, and from a male perspective as well, because women process things a little bit different from men, and we deal with things a little bit different. And last week I had on Stacy.
Yeah.
So you would have known Stacy, and she shared a little bit her journey, and it's going to be a good conversation. But Robert, I want you to start off from, when is it that you knew that you wanted to be a policeman?
I believe that I knew from very young that I wanted to be in the JCF, and for several reasons, really. And primarily, the reason was purely out of a selfish nature, wanting to revenge the death of my father. For those who don't know, my father was a police officer, and he was shot and killed in the line of duty. And my aim and purpose in life, very early, was to really and truly revenge my father's death. I knew who the individual was. So at a very tender age, I said to my mom that my purpose in life is really and truly to seek out this individual and let him know that, listen, he is going to be killed simply because of the anger and the pain that he has caused, not just me, but my entire family. So very early in life, I knew where I wanted to go. But God have a sense of humor, because in all of that, my grandmother kept saying and kept riveting in my head that vengeance is mine, says the Lord. And I remember going to the JDF to actually do the test. And I'm in the test, going through the motions. And of course, halfway through the test, I hear the voice of the Lord. Vengeance is mine. You are here for the wrong reason. And I said, what do you mean by that? This is my plan. And as the voice of the Lord began to speak to me, very clear, I believe it was the first time that I've ever heard the voice of the Lord speaking to me in a very audibly and clear manner to say, listen, I will take care of everything that you are going through. And I remember arguing with God to say, where were you when my father was killed? Why didn't you protect him in this particular way? So of course, halfway through the test, the Lord said to me, don't answer any more questions. So of course, I decided not to answer any more questions. I got up, gave the paper to the person that is overseeing the exam. And she says to me, you're not finished. And I said, yes, I know. And she says, why? And I said to her, I am here for the wrong reason. She says, I don't understand. And I said, I know you don't, but I'm here for the wrong reason. And she says to me, maybe because you don't know the answers. And I said, yes, I do know the answers. And she said, okay, who is the minister of, it was education and youth and culture at the time, which was Bertrand Whiteman. And she said, write it in. And I said, no, I don't want to answer any more questions. I failed that test by 4%. The pass mark was 50 and I got 46. Each question valued 4 marks. So if I'd answered that question, then chances are I would have become a soldier instead of working with and for the JCF. So that for me was God directing me to purpose, because I gather at that point in time, I didn't have a fair understanding of what God was calling me into, but God had a full appreciation what he needed to do in order to guide me, in order to protect me, so that I can now be fulfilling my purpose in life. So very early in life, I knew what I thought I needed to do, but God was always in the picture, directing and in my word, orchestrating my destiny in relation to who he wanted me to become. So very early in life, I had an appreciation.
So when I first met platform, remember me telling our family me talk to you. So when I first met
You can call me Bertie, I forgot to reference Barr.
Sir Robert.
Natalie.
Don't call him Bertie though.
No, Natalie.
I'm hearing you.
Yeah, man. Just hold that thought. I'm tempted. I can't allow this one to pass.
Okay.
Because remember, this is Let's Talk Kingdom, right? And that's the backdrop of all that we talk about. Is not just for us to, hear the experience, and all of that is good, but how it fits in kingdom. And so sometimes our stories, they are in segments, and each tells a powerful, give a powerful perspective and tells a story. Because you mentioned you're here for the wrong reason.
Mm-hmm.
And that just resonates powerfully to me, because as we talk about kingdom, it comes back to us applying to jobs. And I know I'm going to carry off the deep end now, everybody, but we have to get focused. We live in an age now that we just choose jobs like that we just go to the job because we want to go through, we want to make a living, and we want, you get your degree and all of that. But we don't consider, we never ask the Lord, where should we be? Where should we go? Mm-hmm. So yes, Robert's experience come out of resentment and a hurt that he was carrying. But in a normal setting, we should apply the same principle of saying, God, where should we go to work? Because anywhere we go, remember, we're talking about influence, we're talking about dominion, we're talking about kingdom. And anywhere we go, the Spirit of the Lord should be there, should assign us to that place, right? And it's the issue with Jonah, because that's the same thing. Hey, go one direction, and he went to another direction. And so God really is shaking a lot of places because we are out of place. A lot of industry, I believe this, that there are some industry, Natalie and Robert, that cannot prosper because people are out of place. We're asking God to bless that industry, bless that place of work. But the fact is, we are not in our place, so he cannot make that provision for us and that business place. So the truth is, we are not so much even bringing a blessing to that place because we should not be there in the first place.
You know, but Robert said something very powerful, Chris. He said he listened. When the Lord
Yes.
tell him to put on the pen and the paper, how much of us on this platform talk truth, people, would have heard God say, listen, you are not here for the right reason. Walk out of that interview.
You know, Chris was a very critical point, and I agree with Natalie in terms of being obedient. I remember, and this is not just me, just fast forwarding right to seminary, right? My background is actually in electrical installation. Chris would be aware, Nat would be aware. But how God just transitioned.
And love drive, boss.
And love my coasters. But how God transitioned me from that kind of an appreciation in terms of work focus was very critical, because in going to Jamaica Maritime, I noticed I said Jamaica Maritime, so you know how long that was. It is now Caribbean Maritime University. And leaving there and going to UTech, and then God just doing his own thing to say, listen, leave here and go to seminary. And I'm saying, God, that don't make sense based on my understanding and my agreement with you. Because God, you and I had a plan that I would become an electrical engineer so that I can now go to countries where your word is not being taught, your word is not being preached. I go there as an electrical engineer so that the gospel of Jesus Christ can be taught and can be spread in these close countries as they were called. And God just shifted all of that. And said, go to seminary. And I'm saying, God, that was not the plan. Unfair, God. And it is while at seminary, my lecturer, David Pearson, he taught a particular topic, and it was about the sacred and the secular. And when he said to me as an individual, he said, so Barr, when you finish seminary, where are you going to work? And I said, well, I am going back to church, because of course, that is my focus. That is where I want God to use me in relation to quote unquote the sacred. And he said to me, are you going to be part-time or full-time ministry? And I said, I want to go full-time. And he said, I challenge you that the sacred and the secular, there are no distinctions. And I argued with him in relation to the whole issue of sacred, because from a Christian perspective, we understand that sacred simply means that you're going to be working for God in the church, in full-time ministry. And so the shift began while at seminary. My thought began to look outwards in terms of not just church. But not only that, I was still challenged because I still had the whole issue, even though I was being obedient to God in relation to putting down the test paper, not finishing the test paper at JDF, leaving UTech, coming to seminary. I still had the issue of the whole, my father being killed. And it wasn't until at seminary that God just took me through a particular process of healing and deliverance, to the point where one of my classmates began to ask the question, is he a police officer or does he work otherwise? At the time I was at DHL, but my mode of dress is normally clean shave, very normally tucked in, because of course it is a professional look in terms of representing my brand, which is DHL. So of course they thought for a very long time that I was a police officer. So one day I am at school, and I picked up a newspaper and I'm going through it, and I see an article about the JCF, and there's a police officer that is in the article and he's in the van, and an M16 is between his chin, the butt of it, and the outlet is down in the floor. So of course I am skipping past, and the Lord says, go back to the picture. So I go back to the picture, and the Lord says, that is where I'm sending you. And of course, all hell broke loose, because I'm saying, God, unfair. You took away the
JDF.
career that I wanted in terms of my electrical engineer career.
Electrical
And now
engineering.
you send me to seminary to go back to church. And you are now sending me to JCF that you know me have issues with. And he said, that's where I'm sending you. And I said, God, unfair. And I skipped past. And he said, go back to the picture. So I went back. And he says to me, what do you think he is thinking? And I said, God, to be honest, I don't care. I don't want to know. I am not going. And he says, son, you say you want to be used by me. That is where I'm sending you. And I said, God, I hear you. I am going to now ask you a favor. If you want me to go, let at least 2 or 3 persons come to me over the next week to say, you know, Barry always start with a police officer. Don't put God to the test, because sometimes when you do, he answers.
Amen.
The following day, I walk into class and my classmates are having a discussion as to Barr is a police or not. My good friend who was at seminary with me was actually was a sergeant of police, now inspector of police. And he's telling them that no, Barr is not a JCF member. He works at DHL. And of course, I had to come and clarify the issue to say, yes, I am not a JCF member. So of course, the argument, I said, God, I hear you. 2 days later, 2 more persons came to me. Barr, where you work? You're a police? So I said, no, I work at DHL. I said, God, I hear you. I hear you. And fast forward from that now, Chris, that I went and I did my internship in terms of my first degree with JCF. And from there, God just do a complete work in relation to transitioning me from my 10 years at DHL. And when I was transitioning from DHL, this is when DHL was really and truly ready for me, because I began training in all the territories overseas. I was a person that would say, listen, if you want it to be done and done properly, Barr is the person to do it. So of course, I'm now training all the embassy staff how to set up embassy process in terms of visa collection, visa applications, etc., right across the Caribbean for DHL. And God says, it is time to move. And I'm saying, God, unfair again. Unfair again, because now I am ready. Now DHL is ready. At that point in time, I am the Caribbean point of sale manager for all the point of sales right across Jamaica. And I'm saying, God, come on now. Where am I going to go? JCF offers me a 3 months contract. 3 months. Did I say 3 months?
You said 3 months.
That's about 90 days the last time I checked, approximately, right?
Mm-hmm. So I left 10 years for 90 days.
I am leaving 10 years for 90 days. And when I came home and said it to my wife, the only thing she said, are you sure? I said, yes, I am sure. I am hearing from God. 3 months became 6 months, 6 months became 9 months, 9 months became a year. And I'm now here for 8 years. So when
how many promotions you receive at DHL?
What, 1, 2, 3, 4 promotions at DHL. And the last one was a point of sale where I was in charge of, as I said, the entire Jamaica in terms of the point of sales and of course moving shipments per day, etc. You know, so it is about being obedient to God, but also the disparity that this is sacred and this is secular. And I believe that we as Christians can operate quote and unquote in the secular, and that can become more sacred in terms of our ministry, because that is about kingdom. It is
Chris, yeah, get Chris excited.
It is about branching off, recognizing that wherever God has planted you, that now becomes your ministry ground in relation to what God has called you to do, which is to go into all the world, teaching and preaching so that the kingdom of God can be established. And that is what I believe the church today is missing, for the most part, not all. But that is where the mindset should be in terms of moving away from the sacred, from the secular, and seeing it really and truly as one.
Thank you so much, Robert. You kind of jump whole heap. And I want to back up a little bit. I want to back up when, how did you've been that person who I know as a go-getter. You want something, you're gonna go for it. But you started your journey, and I know you were going to school, you were going to UTech, and at the same time, some bus driving thing did come in it. Explain that to the people there. Explain a little segment there.
All right. So I actually my mom, we decided to buy a bus years ago. And while at UTech, we had the bus. So my job in essence was to take the bus to the driver in the morning and pick it up back in the evening. So of course, we're there and the bus is doing well. But there's a particular driver that I found and I began to question his in terms of his own mindset, because I realized that the bus, though it was working, it wasn't making money. It wasn't profitable because it would work for a week or two and then it breaks down. And I'm saying to myself, what is the problem? And of course, I am there one day and I am talking to the individual, and he says to me that, sir, that is why I don't want any bus for myself. And it struck me that because he doesn't want something for himself, and this is something that he's providing for himself and his family, but because he doesn't want that for himself, it said to me that his mindset was that he was not an ambitious individual. And if he's not willing to want something for himself, then chances are he's not going to take care of what I am giving him to work on a daily basis. So, of course, I decided to take the bus from him. And the bus was parked for about a good 3 to 6 months. I went overseas, spent some time with my family, then came back. My mom said to me, what's up with the bus? So I said, not to worry yourself. There's just going to be a transition. So I will begin to drive the bus. So of course I drove the bus for approximately a year, almost 2 years, right, until I got married. And that is how the transition from UTech to the bus and then from UTech to seminary in relation to all of that. I still love Toyota Coasters. I have always said that I want one as for my personal vehicle.
No, Jerry. No,
And I
you're not
intend to
that,
get
my
that at some
friend.
point in time. But the bus experience for me was also a good one, because again, talking about kingdom, many persons have never seen in terms of a crew, a bus crew that was so polite, that was so clean in terms of our mode of dress. Again, our shirts are always tucked in, our IDs are displayed. I remember one morning a police officer pulled us over, and when he came to the bus window and I moved it over, he said, "Driver, step out of the bus." So of course I stepped out, and he says, "Not you, the other driver." I'm like, which other driver is that? Because our modus operandi, he could not believe that this young man was the driver of the bus. As I said, clean shave, very manageable, polite, and we're just talking in relation to it. And out of that experience, in terms of bus, to this day, that police officer is still my friend. To this day, he's still my friend. And we're now laughing about it in terms of how we met in relation to that experience. And out of that, he actually became a Christian, right? And not only that, his entire family, just out of an interaction, an experience with an individual who he was going to ticket, simply because of an appreciation, first and foremost, of who we are as believers. Very important.
So I want you the platform to know your background, because I didn't want anybody to think you just reach, that you had some challenges and you were told the Lord has been speaking to you. So Robert, when the Lord come to you and said to you, say, I know this more want you for the year, you're in a DHL, but I know this more want you for the more you ship, and more you got to something else. Was it easy for you to transition every time? Or what was that like? What was that transition like when you heard the voice of God?
The last transition was for me a little bit difficult, because DHL is a place that I grew. I grew significant in terms of not just educationally, but also in terms of my own people skills. I grew, and DHL was in essence my family. I remember the Friday evening that I decided to print off my letter and to hand it to my HR. Going up the stairs, I mean, I felt all the butterflies. I felt my feet giving way. And I'm saying, God, am I really going to do this? I remember handing my HR, her name was Amorley Hibbert. And I said to her, Amorley, this is my resignation. And she looked back at me and she says, how comes? Why? And we sat and we spoke about it. And I said to her, I think and feel that the Lord is leading me in a different direction. And she says to
Your
me,
HR was a Christian?
To be honest, I'm not sure. and I said to her that I think the Lord is leading me in a different direction. And she says to me, is it about more money? And I said to her, Amorley, you know me by now. I have never asked you guys for a pay increase. Not once. Right? And she says to me, I will hold the resignation. I won't say to anybody. Come Monday and tell me what you want me to do. Monday at 9 o'clock, I went to her office and I said to her, Marley, publish the letter. And she says to me, are you sure? I said, yes. She said, I'm going to give you until 12. I said, no, go ahead and do it. Because by then I've spoken to Jerry in relation to it, and we were at peace in relation to the transition. So that for me was one of the most difficult, right, in terms of moving from DHL to JCF, and Natalie, you're so correct in terms of I'd never just arrive. It sometimes persons hear the backstory and think, oh, that sounds good. But in all of this, it was a process of not just healing, but a process of listening. And not just listening to the voice of the Lord, but listening to persons who God has placed in your life, in terms of your mentors, in terms of the average individual at church and even on the road. Because sometimes God uses some people that you would never even think that God would use to speak into your life. I remember once when I said to a dear friend of mine, was actually my former pastor years ago. And I said to him that, I think the Lord wants me to go and work in the JCF. And he says, the JCF? What is that? I said, the police force. And him said, oh, them will kill people. And the thing really and truly hurt me, really hurt me, because I'm saying, no, they don't just kill people, but the perception is that the police force, that is all we do. And if you look at it, it is far from the truth in relation to what we do on an average day. So for me, listening to persons who are more experienced than you, then that kind of helped to kind of forge in relation to my own process growing up, my own process in terms of becoming an assistant chaplain, in terms of my own purpose in life.
Robert, everybody never did excited say you want to go in a JCF. No. How did you deal with that level of knowing that this is what the Lord said, and person saying, boy, Bertie, go do something else. Go on the mission field. Go on out into the world and do what you say you want to do. Don't bother go down that road there.
I had to get permission to join the JCF from at least 3 women in my life. I mean, 3 women. Actually 4. My dear wife, because she said, she never married a police nor worse a chaplain. So of course I had to get permission from her. I had to get permission from my mom because of course now it appears that I am placing myself in harm's way. My two lovely grandmothers, God rest their soul, one said to me that I am not talking to you over the phone about this. If you want me to talk about it, come and look for me. So of course I had to jump on a plane and go to my grandmother, which is my father's mother. And of course she's saying to me that, listen, I understand where you want to go, where God is taking you. And if God is taking you there, then I will give you my blessings. Other than that, the answer is no. And she was dead serious about it, you know, because she had lost her son. And she's saying to me that she doesn't want to lose me in that particular way. So I had to reassure her to say, listen, grandma, I am not going to be going on the front line into the battlefields, right? Well, so I thought, because of course, that different kind of battlefield, if you ask me, you know, and for me, I think this one is even more serious because we're talking about not just somebody's physical body, but we're talking about their souls also. You know, so I had to ask permission for those from those four women who really and truly supported me in relation to my decision, right? And of course, two continues to do so, both my mom and Jerry. So you're correct in terms of people saying a lot of things. I was never necessarily concerned about what other people thought or think in relation to it, because of course, once I hear that God is saying this is where I need to go, then automatically I am going to line up. Even if I am going to kick and scream and say, God, I don't necessarily want to go there. At the end, I am going to conform because I know that if God is saying that this is purpose, then automatically I have to. It reminds me in the book of Jeremiah, in chapter 1, verses 5 to 7, when the Lord said to Jeremiah, before I formed thee in the womb. It is not the forming of the in the womb, but before God formed Jeremiah in the womb, God knew Jeremiah. And God said that I have ordained you a prophet, not just to Israel, because the Bible says to the nations, both to Israel and the surrounding nations. And I believe that God has ordained each and every one of us specifically for a purpose, and that purpose is kingdom. That purpose is launching out, living a particular way so that people will see the glory of God and glorify God Himself for who we are in the earth.
Thank you so much for that, Robert. We grew up, and I've taken for granted, and I've learned over the years, we quick for say we hear from God. That was our culture. So platform we are coming from, I was tutored through Covenant. Covenant Community Church played a role in my growing up, under the tutelage of Pastor Donald Stewart.
Critical role.
And, you know, and we, when I say we, for those of us who were part of Covenant at that time, it was second nature. We grew up being nurtured and cultured to hear the voice of God. And we spoke how we heard through our personality. And this is how I'm going to share a story. So Robert and I are friends. Before I even met his wonderful wife, Bertie and I were really, really good friends. And then it was through him liking Jerry and them something there, and me and Jerry become friends after. So if there are any men on the platform, it's not all women are Jezebel here. You have some women who are just like man company.
Yeah, man. And some good up woman.
Thank you, Bertie. So Robert and I were friends first.
Don't start her, please.
Robert and I were friends first. So one day, guys, we were at church, and the Lord gave me a word. And
what was it? Hold on. You talk about the culture because I mean
Yes.
you need to express that culture a little bit more before you go into that story.
Okay,
Because
so the culture covenant was that, guys, and this is something I am appreciating, Robert, because it's something that you would be shocked most persons don't have. That culture of within your time of worship to have a platform to say, I heard from the Lord. So the culture was that if you got a word from the Lord, you would go to either the elders or someone senior to you, tell them what you've heard, and based on their deliberation, you would then have the opportunity whether to share with the church or to speak to someone. Robert can correct me if I'm missing anything.
And you are correct. And it wasn't just a hear him, scare him, thus says the Lord. The word really and truly had to either edify, build up, or in line with scripture in relation to what God is saying. So it is not necessarily quote unquote any new revelation per se, but it had to line up with the word of God based on scripture.
And so worship for us was very unique, because when we had worship, if the Lord spoke during worship, nobody now preach because the word already came. And so that was the culture we grew up with. And we were never shut down. Our voices, as no matter how young you were, from baby to adults, no one voices was shut down. No one experience was not shut down. So if someone said they saw angels, no one said to that person, you never see nothing. Nobody behave like you see nothing. Or it was an atmosphere that we had to just cultivate the spiritual side of us and nurture that relationship with us, hearing from God and what the Lord was saying. And that's the atmosphere that was stimulated then our at Covenant.
And not only that, in the nuts.
Go ahead.
If you and I know remember war team, we are radical.
Oh God.
In the sense that we were also taught in relation to things of the spirit, but not just things that are seen in scripture, but also we were exposed in terms of the teaching of the cults and the occult, in terms of our own life first and foremost, in terms of our own purity, sanctification, which a part again is a part of the purpose and a part of the culture. But not only that, that translates into kingdom, because it is as you are going through those experience, then you can translate that experience into what you now call secular work, in terms of bringing people to a knowledge of who Jesus Christ is. So we were exposed to deliverance ministry very early in our own Christian walk, and not only exposed, but we were actually taught in terms of how to go about and what to do, what to look out for, and of course being not just filled with the Spirit, but walking in the Spirit, so that at any point in time, we can readily identify and help people who wanted to be set free.
how many persons were on the war team? You guys remember at the time?
The whole church.
Well, at one point in time, we had approximately about 45 young people. We're not talking about the elders now. We're talking about young people in relation to that particular ministry, because I remember we actually branched off into 4 different teams. And each team had a leader, each team had an intercessor, each team had a teacher, each team had a technical person in terms of how to set up the equipments, etc. I have often said that Covenant was before its time in terms of what church should be and ought to be, and I think balance is always important, because when you become one-sided in anything in terms of ministry, then of course you negate or neglect the other side of ministry. And ever so often that is what happens in churches who are generally one-sided in relation to things of the spirit, as opposed to things in relation to the practical aspect of it.
And
And
so
I think that was the downfall for us. because we were very strong in one side of things. Go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry.
So War would travel, because remember you guys would be at some of the educational institution like Hart. There were conferences there with Reverend Hall, and there were other conferences across Jamaica, right? That you guys would have come out in your war
Right.
suits and stuff. And
Oh, Chris, it wasn't that drastic. It's just some shirts. Jeez.
I still
wasn't there
have mine.
You still have your
Okay.
shirts?
I still have my shirt.
Oh, Lord.
It may not fit me as well, but I still have my shirt. And those particular shirts were actually made from Maasai, the Maasai tribe material, which is very rich. And the Maasai tribe is actually from Tanzania, East Africa. So Chris mentioned in terms of going to Hart and the different schools, but also it branched to the point where it became overseas in terms of ministry and missions, because a part of the mission for war, and by extension DRMMI, which Reverend Hall was a part of, was to really and truly help other churches, particular in Africa, to help them in terms of how to function. But for me, it was a win-win, because when we went there, they also taught us in terms of some things in terms of the occult world that we never knew, right? So of course, for me, it was a win-win based on ministry. But yes, Chris, we have been right around Jamaica and some overseas countries in relation to that particular ministry. Which
So Chris, he's versed in logistics. He's versed in demonology. He's versed in electrical engineering. Jerry, you met talk about your husband.
You
he can drive. What you said? Leave me alone. And
go ahead, sister. Go ahead.
So it sings them, Jerry. So we. Oh my God! That was our war shirt. Yes.
I remember that shirt too.
Okay, so we have some covenant people on here.
Oh God. Yeah, we are radical.
We are radicals. And so really and truly, guys, it was church for us wasn't about a four walls, because we weren't we were renting a space. It was about going and communicating and growing and why I want to share my little story with Robert is just for everybody to understand that we all play a role in the body. Now, Robert is a man. He is by no means emotional. He is everything manly. And I remember one day the Lord gave me a word, and I did not want to share the word. And I was wrestling with the Lord around the back about the word. And I got caught up into my feelings. Jerry, remember that day. And I pitched off the chair and started to flutter, because life was literally coming. I felt like God was taking the breath out of me, because I said I was not going to give the word. And all the women came around me and they were praying, and and Robert stepped in, guys, and said, just bent over and said, listen, a disobedient, suppose God did kill you. Repent and come out for the people them going and get a word. And I felt life come back into my body. And I got up off the ground and I went and I gave the word, because you know how we are in church, something like that happening, you want cast out or whatever, or because I'm literally fluttering on the ground, I can't breathe, because I was disobedient to the voice of God, and I felt God pulling the air out of me like I was going to die. I felt death coming out of me, and all the ladies gathered, and Robert, I just know when I hear Robert's voice, because I'm no to me, I feel like I was unconscious. And Robert just knelt over and just deal with my situation right now. So that, listen, You got dead over not giving a word? Give the word and go do what you have to do. And I had to get up and I had to give that word. And Robert, thank you so much, because maybe I never get married to the good man, right? So out of disobedience.
That is because, Natalie,
Lord Jesus.
because I'm looking into the spirit and I see the tall brown man walking down and coming to you, and because I want the three little boy them to born, you have to save your word.
Come on now.
But guys, trust me, this environment was very rich, really still admired, even though it doesn't exist today. But I believe that every church really should be operating this way, to give people a chance to really have good structure, spiritual structure, that is, to have people that you can go to. And because right now, Robert, we hear this, and it's good for you to understand your background, because you constantly say the Lord told you, and you're arguing God, you're talking to him back and forth. That comes out of some level of confidence, maturity. It means that you have a very good relationship. And people need to understand that this didn't just come like that. It came because you had people, you had an environment, they had persons like Natalie at the time, and a lot of you guys were hearing from the Lord, but not just hearing from the Lord on a deep end. You had people that you could go to validate what the Spirit of Allah was saying to you, that, hey, I'm not sure about that word, or yeah, man, that word is correct. And so you could grow. You had an environment that people didn't shut you down. People didn't push you aside, and in fact, they encouraged. And that was what I saw when I came to Covenant, and just to be around you guys at the time, to saw young people having a chance to be heard, for people to listen to them, to understand, to learn, to test, to validate the word of God. And I mean, it's really opposite of what's happening today. When you hear from the Lord today, it's a strange thing. It's like, what happened to you? You heard from the Lord. At that time, people were cultured into hearing the voice of God, but not just that. You didn't have leaders who were jealous of you or were trying to shut you down. You had people who were actually trying to push you and to develop that, because I'm sure they're not in your life today, no, Robert, but at least look what you have become, that you can have confidence to hear the voice of God. You can trust the voice of God to move you from a job that you were so secure in. That's a big decision. To have your family, you're looking towards starting your family. You want a life, a house, a car like everybody else. And now God is going to take you from a secure job that you are being promoted several times in. You have almost become the face of DHL, right? They're expanding. And I remember that because, again, guys, we're very close. This is family here, right? And just to know that God has said, all right, Robert, this is it now. You have to move to a JCF. It's not the best of jobs per se. You understand what is exciting about JCF? The fact that you can, wear a weapon, have something on you, you're protected. DHL was the thing to be. It's that kind of job that's out there, travel and Caribbean and so, and you heard the voice of God and you are confident to obey him and move in his direction. That has to come out of an environment. That's what we're stressing here. Part of it is the environment that we grow up in, and a lot of churches are not having that culture. We don't have that. It's just the pastors, and I'm knocking that. It's just the pastors. It's the quote unquote leaders that are here, and it should not happen. We should encourage every single person to learn, to understand, and to grow in the voice of God. That's what is going to carry you into the world of influence.
And I couldn't say it better, Chris, in relation to all of that. You said that I would have become the face of DHL. I actually became the face of DHL. And I believe every time God moves me somewhere, it is out of influence, it is out of positioning that God just over time just lifts you up and positions you in a particular situation where your face becomes almost a brand in relation to who you are as an individual because of how you carry yourself. But I believe outside of that, it is God who does it, not just for Robert, not just for Chris, not just for Shami, not just for Natalie, but so that persons will see you. So in the event that they need help, then automatically they will remember you and come to you, so that you now can be that person's guide in relation to either becoming a Christian or rectifying or helping to solve a particular issue that that individual has. You mentioned in terms of how we culture our children. One of the things that really and truly stood out to me in terms of my transition and joining the Wesleyan family was all about that, in terms of the whole issue, in terms of how they treated people, but not just people, how they treated children. I don't want to put Sister Charmaine on the spot. She's on the call this evening. But the first time that I heard her son started to say is ABC, I'm saying, all right, it might go up until about D or maybe F, G the most. But that young man started A to Z, and he gave you a scripture in relation to what A to Z meant in relation to kingdom. If he was maybe around, I would say, Sister Charmaine, just ask him to come on the platform and even say it. And I'm telling you, this is what it's all about, so that the next generation that comes after us have an appreciation, not just hearing from God, but understanding what God wants for the generation at hand, so that that generation can translate into a better generation than ours presently.
So hold on, Robert. You just said holy a while ago. It looked like you're supposed to be, Robert, my life is not its own bar.
And you are correct.
Because I'm hearing you, Robert. You've moved from electrical engineering to this, to that, and you're just going with what the Lord is saying. You are covenant. I know you're at a particular church now, and you're transitioning to another denomination. Robert, enough people not do that, because sir, please kindly there and thank you. We're die-hearted, we're sold out to one something. So if God tell you to get up and leave, I know by this time I may lose 2-3 people off my platform, but may God bless you. If God tell us to get up and leave because we are supposed to impact another set of family, another set of believers that don't fall under our umbrella that we are currently under, we're not going to go, because we join one long life. It's like when you go to church nowadays, you take one a membership, we say membership for life. Like, yeah.
That's true.
It is more kingdom for life, more than church membership for life.
People don't.
Say that again, Robert. Hold on. Say that again, Robert.
Kingdom for life.
Kingdom for life.
And it is not that we are encouraging people just to get up and leave church.
No.
Right? Because if you're leaving, you must hear from the word of God. You must hear what God is saying to you. And I've always said, never leave the church under vexation. My wife will tell you that, she said, listen, if and when God decides to move us, we must leave with the blessing. We must leave with some amount of respect, if you understand what I mean, right? So I am saying, listen, kingdom for life, right? But even if you're attached to a leader and you decide that you want to leave, you must do so in good order. Must do so in good order.
I hear you, Rev. Rev, you just going at the Rev mode a while ago.
Most definitely.
I am very appreciative of you sharing, because to me, Robert, it seems like your life is really not your own, and wherever the Lord directs you or bids you or whatever he asks you to do, from you have the consensus from the persons around you that matters the most, and they bless you on top of that. And I'm happy that you are speaking, but I know Jerry is on, but I know she has been your biggest support as well in all of these transitions because you're married to this woman. And at
No,
any time, Jerry,
no,
did you say I'm on?
I am not married to her. She married to me.
Leave it.
Jerry, Robert, don't do it. Robert, don't do it. Don't do it on the platform, Robert. Don't do it.
All right, I'm going to try and behave myself.
Thank you very much. At any time, did your wife just believe that you were losing 2 screws? She never did so sure you're here from the Lord.
No, I don't believe so. I think she has always been someone that knows that I don't take decisions lightly. I weigh decisions based on what I know the Lord has called me to. So each time that we decide to move, the only question she will ask, are you sure? And where you go, I will follow. Right? But she's on the platform, so she can speak for herself because maybe I'm lying on her.
Jerry, at any time, Robert, in all of these transitions, him being the priest. And guys, I must say that they have a very unique relationship because I think Jerry, you're older than Robert. Is that correct, Mr. Barr?
Yes, she is, by 20 years old.
Yes, sir. Jerry, how much Robert know your age?
Right,
And say, she gonna fight you after this though. But I just want the dynamic, guys. I want you to understand the level of respect as wives, in allowing our priests to be priests. Jerry, I want you to unmute your mic. At any time, did you feel like, okay, God, I really married one lunatic, but I'm gonna just follow him?
You may have to repeat. She had stepped out of the room a while ago. So go ahead.
Okay. So Jerry, being on the platform, I just want you to share with the platform in him making these different transitions. At any time, did you think that he was crazy with what he was doing? Like, God, really and truly, am I gonna do this again?
Well, you know how we are. I like to ask questions, yeah? So apart from saying, are you sure? My thing was always, okay, like for especially let me use the police, yeah? For the police one especially, that kind of bowls me over because I was like, all right, you work in the office, no, you're going on the street. Okay, you're gonna have a gun in this house. So I'm like, are you sure? But the thing with that is that something I had to learn to do was to trust his judgment because I have seen over the years how God uses him, and he's kind of a strange one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, he would say like, okay, I have to go home now because I have an appointment, a meeting. And I'm like, meeting Sunday afternoon? And he says, yes, I have a meeting with the Lord at 3 o'clock. So I'm like, okay. So you kind of get the feeling of who we're dealing with here. He's not an ordinary man of God, I must say. You understand? So those are the things that you have to like bear in mind, and then you have to say, boy, when you're really, I say, no, God, no, police. That one that is kind of troubling, but you have to trouble to yourself one side and say, God, are you sure? You don't want this stress the thing. So I didn't pressure him too much with that. But in my mind, I know I was like, all right, but you have to trust you have to trust it, yeah, and trust the fact that he knows in whom he believes in, and that he has always come through for him. So I just said, hey, you know something? if
In
that
track
is
record strong. In track
God
record strong.
yeah, if you believe it, it's strong, and he has never failed. And that's the thing, God has never failed in his transition, so you kind of just grow to learn to trust the process of all of this. So at the end of the day, I'm just back off. And my thing is, all right, if you're sure, okay, I will do even with the transition, it was like, whoa, nothing God, nothing go, nothing move. But then again, you're reminded that, hey, God is doing something, and what we do as kingdom people is not limited to four walls. It's really going out there. So God will uproot you at any time and say, okay, we need you over here. You understand? So to me, no one drop a gun like some people. Me just say, all right, God, anything you want to do, Robert, if you go, I will follow. That was my final words to him on the church transition. So that's my thing on that. So I did have my concerns, but at the end of the day, I had to trust the process, trust God, trust him, because I have seen where God has been doing a lot of things and movement, quick things with him, and he has seen it through to the end. So yeah.
Thank you, Jerry. So Pastor Dino on Facebook said Jerry married a lunatic. So guys, Robert, I want you to talk a little bit about that culture that
let me do damage control, because just to inform the platform that Pastor Dino was also a minister at Covenant at one time, and a part of this group. Just in case, you have some first time on the platform, Natalie, that we don't want to lose them for this.
Sorry. I'm so sorry. Thank you so much, Chris, for that. But there's something that Jerry said,
hold on a minute. So Chris, in other words, the apple don't fall far from a tree then.
I'm not even laughing. Let me keep that as an inside joke. So first, I want you to share what were some of the most difficult challenges you experienced during these transition. I know you spoke a little bit about what you call it there, DHL to DHL to the police, and I'm going to shift a little now on what you're doing now. But I want you to tell me, based on all of the transitions that you've made thus far, what were some of your most difficult challenges?
Why not, to be honest, if I say that I have had difficult challenges in terms of transitioning, I would say, boy, it's a lie. Because as I said, I am very calculated, is the word I want to use, in terms of what I do, when I do, and how I do, right? But overall, what I can say is that there are actually three things that I believe that, if not carefully managed and carefully dealt with, that can really and truly affect in terms of us functioning effectively in relation to kingdom, is the whole matter of fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of not wanting to speak, fear of just about everything, fear of not being adequate enough, fear of not being holy enough, as if to say that it is us who make ourselves holy, right? So I believe that fear is one of the things that really and truly cripples us as a people in order to stepping out, in order to ensuring that, listen, we are living, we are doing. Fear, right? And the other one is really and truly anger. Many of us are so angry at ourselves, angry at people, angry at maybe even church. So we no longer function effectively in church because of church. We're just angry. And the next big one is the unforgiveness, that we tend to hold people in a particular mode and we generally do not let them go. And that for me really and truly affects us in terms of how we function. If you read through the book of Matthew, especially Matthew 18, it speaks about the whole issue of forgiveness and how we should really and truly handle it. It speaks about two servants who owed the master, or one owed a fellow servant, and one owed the master, and the master forgave one, for example, of $50 million, and the slave who owed the fellow slave $10,000 would not forgive him and throw him in prison. And the master heard about it and said, listen, how could you have done this? I forgave you. Why couldn't you have forgiven your fellow servant? To this day, the death will be called into account. And the Bible says that he was thrown into prison, thrown into torment. Unforgiveness, ladies and gentlemen, can torment us to the point where we become mentally enslaved in relation to who we are as a people and what God would want from us. So I believe that we have to watch this issue of fear. For us, fear of transitioning, fear of doing can really and truly cripple us, right? We have to watch the whole anger in relation to who we are as a people, because anger really and truly clouds the mind in terms of what we should be thinking about and how we should be thinking about. Romans 12 tells us that be ye transformed by what? The renewing of our own minds. So a part of the process is renewing the mind so that we can think not how we have been taught to think, but how God wants us to think, which is kingdom, right? And the whole issue, as I said, unforgiveness. We have to learn how to forgive in all of this so that we do not hinder ourselves in increasing in purpose.
Mm. That's excellent, Robert.
That's the
I think
Reverend. That's the Reverend.
yes, that's Rev a while ago. That was Rev a while ago. You know, and it's really it's a matter of introspection, because it's easy to look at fear, anger, unforgiveness. I cannot pronounce the first name, so I'm going to say Morgan says fear, anger, unforgiveness. So true, because these things trap us, the individual, from not transitioning and doing what God wants us to do. And guys, in not being obedient to God, you're trapping yourself. You're delaying yourself from the unknown, from what God wants to unfold inside of you, and what he wants you to do in the earth. And you're robbing yourself from true manifestation because of this stuff. Go ahead, Chris.
As a pastor, being online now, I wish you could jump in, but Robert is one of those real down-to-earth, true Christian, right? Just
If
very
down to
real,
earth was a person, you're looking at him.
very real. It right? And for me, just hearing Robert speaks and stuff, and the maturity, and you hear him talk authoritatively in that pastoral grace, right? I'm really just looking at how you guys grow up, and that's it for me, Robert. That's it for me. Just that environment that you guys grew up in, that you had very good leaders, you had the freedom just to learn all, just what you said a while ago is something that was embedded in you until maybe you come to the reality to see it, to make those decisions. I'm saying, guys, this is me personal now. We are robbing our people today of that environment. Because it's like training up our kids and then sending them out there into the world. We're expecting that they're going to live out basically of the principles that they are taught. It's the same thing in the church. If we don't teach, if we just all we teach them is just religious things, then when they go out in the world, they're going to lose their identity. They're not going to know who they are. But when we train them up well, they're going to be able to make decisions, sound decisions, godly decisions. So it's really, really important where people grow up, who they grow up under, the kind of environment that they grow up in. Pasadena, I know you were a part of that. Trust me, Don't know if you want to jump in and add to that, but really, really powerful. And that is something I personally admire of that environment that Pastor Donna Stewart had created at the time. Pastor Dino was a part of it. I mean, up to this day, we still call Pastor Dino Uncle Dino because of the relationship. Yes.
Hello. Hi, guys. Good afternoon. Good evening. Sorry, I'm late in it. Hi, Mr. Robert, Mr. and Jerry, and Natalie. I think you have my video locked. I don't know how to open the video. It says hosts have blocked my video, so I don't know how you do that.
Sir, I'm soon come. I soon figure that
No,
out.
no, that's okay. I'm in my bed, so that's okay. Okay. There you go. There you go. I'm sorry. There you go. All right. Blessing, guys. It has been tremendous. I've been listening. I've been doing some work, and I've been listening, guys, and it's been tremendous. But one of the stuff I really want to say, along with what's been happening and saying, is this, and I don't want to throw a spoke to the wheel, is that salvation is supposed to let us become a brand new man, right? A brand new person. And because the emphasis and the direction of the church has not been the man who we are, we have become something less than what we're supposed to be. So hence, when God has made all of us, Robert, me, all of us, with everything that we need inside of us already, right? To become that person. Robert, you had to become that person, that chaplain. That's who you were designed to be. But it was inside of you. And salvation and the Holy Spirit and the baptism of the Holy Spirit and the rebirth experience is supposed to make the hidden man, the true man in the kingdom come forth. But we don't preach that, we don't teach that. So we're still being something else other than who we are supposed to be. That's why we are angry. In psychology, one of the foundation for anger is lack of identity. When you don't know who you are a very angry person. You understand me? So I have so much people in the church nowadays, they was like bounty killer, them cross, angry, and miserable because they don't know who they are. They don't know who they are at all. It's true because they know what Jesus did for them, but they don't know what they need to be for themselves.
And they don't know how to access it also.
That's right. And one of the stuff that being around Donald Stewart, that's one of the stuff he taught me. He always says, Gina, be yourself. I said, sir, I stammer. He said, well, preach and stammer. I never forget it. Donald Stewart was one of the first men out there who gave me a platform. Right? He said, I see something in you. Be yourself. He said, God don't want another Miles Monroe, another person like that. He said, be yourself. And I had to find my own identity in God. Inside of the apostle, inside of Saul was the apostle Paul. And that thing had to be on earth. He had to come out of him. Inside of this cussing person, I called Simon, was a Peter. Inside of you, there is your purpose and your destiny. As I said to my friend Chris one time, I said that David was never meant to be a shepherd. He was a king from day one. He was a king from day one. He was a leader from day one. It is not right. It is not the culture of the day to allow the youngest son to lead the sheep. It was the eldest sons who led the sheep. Just think about it, Chris. You have a business and you give it to what's your last son name? Ethan?
Matthew
at 10 years old, you said, Matthew, you go run the business. No, made no sense. It made no sense that Jesse should have given the sheep to David, unless there was a divine purpose in it that God wanted to build to reveal to David and to them that there was a king inside of this little boy. And so the way for him to be taught to be a king was for him to learn to be a shepherd. A lot of times, and so that's why I love this topic, guys. is that as we engage and as we move in our purpose, we have to become more settled and more relaxed in the idea of who we are. And if we can overcome that banner and that barrier, we can become so much more effective in church and in the world. I'm so glad with what you said, that there is no demarcation between the secular and the sacred. And the reason for that is that the moment you step into a place called secular, it is no longer secular because the sacred is there, and the sacred trumps the secular every single time. And so I don't believe at all. I go into a bar, have a bar brethren now, I have some drinking brethren, and there's something going on, and it don't even bar no more. Every time we go in there, them call it the church street. Them call it church street. Because in the bar no more at all. In there, the man drink them liquor, and we are preaching them, and we are talk to them. Me old Malcolm Malta because me can't drink the liquor, my head too weak. But guess what? The man them expect me to come there. And it's because of the curfew why I'm not there now. You understand what I'm telling you? You have to become, guys on the line, you have to make up your mind to become comfortable with who you are. Unless the good that you are, the bad that you are, anything. What, Jerry? Be comfortable with it because you won't change it unless you know it. You cannot change what you can't confront. You have to know who you are. I have to know who I am. And this is the kingdom message. This is a kingdom message. There is no place in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John where Jesus changed anybody. No place at all. They all submitted to what he said about them, and then they changed into what they were already and didn't know. And so this is a powerful message. It's a powerful message on purpose because and I think, Jerry, you are so right. This and Robert, this is one of the missing links of the purpose message, because so many people are trying to find purpose in another, are trying to find their purpose in their destiny. Purpose is within us. It is here in our heart and our soul, in us. We were born with it. Jeremiah 1 says, from before you were born, I knew you. Everything is in him. Everything is in us. You understand? But Jesus was the Christ when he was born. That's why at 12 years old, when everybody's are playing with tutu train and have a fun time, he was talking to the rabbis. In him, he couldn't come out time at all. What is inside of you today that is frustrating you every day, that you can't do because you have positioned yourself not to become what God has called you to be, and you call yourself Christian. Can I say that again? What are you not doing today that you feel led to be doing in your heart and your soul, but you have positioned yourself not to do it because you call yourself Christian? It's a new level, new thinking, guys, new thinking. I don't want to take over your program. Let's start one, do it. I'm watching. Let's start.
You can go and talk, but not take over. All of us are here to run the thing and run the thing well, man. The only thing I would add to that, Sardino, is also in terms of having appreciation, not just about who you are, but whose you are. Because whose you are helps you to position yourself to know that, listen, you are a part of God's kingdom, right? Yes. You mentioned David, and the amazing thing about David's life story is what I call the process. Because at age 12, he's anointed king. And as you rightfully said, Sardino, he is king. But it's not until age 30 that he was appointed king. So during all of that, the process of learning how to be a king, because ever so often you can know that, listen, you are supposed to occupy this particular position, but if you get it too early, you might do more damage to it. And therefore, you have to understand that the process from point A to point B, from point A to point Z, is about learning how to function in purpose when purpose arrives.
A lot of people do, honestly, and I'm saying a lot, it sounds very good, and we are taught trust God and everything, but Robert, how do you
Chris, hold on 1 second. Let's Talk Family, both on Facebook and on Zoom. If you have a question or you have a comment and you want to join the discussion, don't be afraid to raise your hand. We will give you the opportunity to do so. So raise your hand if you want, and you can join or ask a question. If you're not comfortable talking, which I don't buy, you can put it in the chat, but go ahead. I just want to say, Margie Trusty Samuels on Facebook says, always say it once, you become a child of God. Anything you do is your ministry. Is that creating? I don't know how that part will go, but she's saying basically anything you do is your ministry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying that we are creatures of security. We like to be secure. We like comfort and stuff. And we don't even want to be open-minded, that the Lord can take us out of our place of comfort. And here we are listening to you, that God is moving you. And you know, I was thinking earlier, because I said that JCF was not the limelight. DHL had that, you know, you were the image, the face of DHL. And very often you were also the face of JCF. We saw you on calendar, we saw you out there on media and doing stuff. So, but the truth is though.
But that's a transition, Chris, because it didn't start that way. It started with, as Robert said, a 3 months contract. It started then with a 6 months contract, and then it built itself. And that is the issue, because nowadays everybody wants the microwave end. Persons really not interested in the process, because he worked 10 years to become the face of DHL, right, Robert? And then no, it took a time for him. And I'm not cutting you, Chris, but time going, and I want Robert to talk about what he's doing now. Robert, speak to us. So your education, you told us about UTech, you told us about maritime, you told us about seminary. What did you do at the seminary, sir?
Seminary was a good experience in the sense that I left seminary with what I think was a first degree in theology and leadership and ministry. When I say I think, because of course it is on paper, but for me, I left seminary with more than just a first degree. I left seminary with a particular focus in relation to, first and foremost, who God was and who God is and who God is going to become in my life. Because for me, the first degree, yes, but the experience in seminary, I would say, was the platform or the trajectory in relation to what do I now need to do next. Because that now led me not into more theology, but led me into psychology.
So you did your master's in psychology?
I did my master's in accounting psychology at CGST, right? And from there, I heard the Lord said, all right, so now that you have this, what next? What do you want to do? So it's almost like he was giving me now at this point in time an option. So I'm saying, all right, God, where do we go from here? What is needed for the next level? Because for me, it is about preparation in terms of what God will do next. And so I am presently reading for my terminal degree in clinical psychology.
Your what, sir? You explain. Sorry.
In clinical psychology.
Your what degree, sir?
My terminal, my doctorate.
Oh, sorry, sir. I don't know those things, so I am sorry.
In academia, it's called your terminal degree, madam.
Okay.
And I know you know. Stop going like you don't know.
I don't know them terminal. I know about PhD. I know term.
Right.
But guys, let me tell you something. Why I wanted Robert to share this. He has been very humble, but anybody who knew Bertie back in the day, we thought Bertie would have been on that bus for life. Like that bus was his full stop. I didn't know that Robert would progress the way that he did. I believed in him. When he tell me about police thing, I just look at him and say, yeah, big up yourself. Anything you say, I do, yeah, I do. That was my support, like, because I know how he gets when he gets into that mode of, okay, Natalie, this is where I'm going and this is what next, and that drive. But I just want you to understand that journey. He's now working 8 years, or how much years, Robert, at the JCF?
8, 9 years now.
8, 9 years now. So that is 9 plus 10, 19. And it has been a journey. It has been a journey through getting CXCs, getting into UTech, going to seminary, doing his master's, to know doing, I know can say a terminal, what you say that again, terminal degree. At the first me hear the word, Robert, don't play with me. So what I want to put across is that 18, 19 year consistency of keep on doing, keep on going, and don't believe he has not shared some of his personal challenges because he doesn't look at life as challenging. Remember me did interview Jerry now is a different story. Are we different with the things? But for Robert, what was an obstacle for Robert was just an obstacle for a period. And that was his mindset. Yeah, Natalie, things are happening, but that's just for a short period. And we go back again and we move. And I just want to say, Robert, thank you. But I want you to tell us a little bit now about what it is that you actually do at the JCF. What does your job entail? Because most of us are not aware of what the chaplain does. I think most persons may think that the chaplain just maybe pray over the guys them, and if someone passes, you would do like the funeral service. But what is it that a chaplain does? What does your job entails?
All right. Simply put, think about a pastor who is a marketing executive, who is a sales rep, and then times it times 10, and you get an idea in relation to what chaplaincy does.
Can you please break that down for in layman terms, please?
All right. So generally, we provide physical and psychosocial and emotional and spiritual support to the members and their families of the JCF. What we do generally, we create programs that are geared towards benefiting the members, especially if we have a target group. For example, if a group that we have found to be in need in relation to a financial seminar or a financial outlook, then of course we create a particular program that is geared towards that, based on the individual or individuals within a specific area within the JCF, and then we deliver those. As I said, it is multifaceted. If an individual is in need of counseling, then definitely we are so positioned. If we need to act, then we can act. We also have another agency or another arm of the JCF called the Medical Services Branch that also provides that kind of psychosocial support and care from a medical standpoint. So of course it is multifaceted, as I said before. To tell you definitively what we do on an average day, it is going to be very difficult because as the need arises, then chances are we will act. And especially during this COVID pandemic, we have gone, I would say, in an essence, outside of the scope, because sometimes it means that we need to now go and try and get some items for persons who can't leave the house and actually take it to there. So it's multifaceted. But generally, we provide the psychosocial and emotional and psychological care for our members outside of burial, weddings, and other official functions of such.
Robert, in our culture of Jamaica, people say police wicked, and people afraid of police. Can you dispel some of the myths that persons have, especially in this time now where crime and violence is so rampant? And I mean, the news this week, with that young lady being missing and shown up dead. I looked at your status and I realized that you were just saying, hey, no violence towards women and children. And there was something on your status which it just speaks to just how down to earth you are, that you played that said these are the ladies that we failed. So you didn't just speak about what happened, you spoke about the failures as well. Speak to us about the force, how you think as believers we should be praying for the force, because sometimes we pray from an uneducated or emotional or how would I put it now, people's opinions place. So there's a lot of things out there in the environment that people will have an opinion on, but they're not close to the situation. You being close to the situation, speak to us about that.
Natalie, I'm going to tell you a secret that many persons don't know in Jamaica and the world about police officers. It is a well-guarded secret, but I want to Let's Talk Kingdom know the secret. Do you know that police officers are human beings?
No, them wear blue, them wear cape.
Thank you. And that is how we see police officers, as superhumans. We don't believe that police officers have feelings, have emotions, and have that kind of understanding that we can just reason with a police officer. Society has done a good job of pitching society against the police. So it is always civilian against sworn members, or against society against JCF or law enforcement, to include the soldiers. If we are going to become a nation under God, if we are going to increase in beauty, if we are going to have the fellowship and prosperity, then our anthem says that we all must play our own part in the advancement of the welfare of the whole human race. Ever so often, we have negate our own responsibilities as individuals and then collectively as kingdom, and say it is their problems to fix and not ours. The issue surrounding crime and violence has little to do with the police from an enforcement standpoint in terms of trying to curtail, but it is everybody's responsibility to become our brother's keeper. There is nothing that happens in terms of a crime that somebody don't know who did it. And yet we expect just the police to solve it. The police can't solve it unless they know where to go. And so it is incumbent upon us as the people of God to speak about these issues. You said about prayer. We will do well with all the prayers, because guess what? The JCF, in my estimation, is an organization that welcomes spirituality, that welcomes religious individuals to pray for them. The Christian ought to be and continue to be that person or in the our institution that holds the hand of the JCF, the JCF, and all the security forces, so that they can work together. The citizens have a role to play. The police have a role to play also, but we can't play that role in a vacuum. It takes two to care, and therefore we must care, the police must care, and we must work together. I would encourage all of us on this platform, and by extension, everyone that will listen at some point in time, that as you go along, it is okay to see a police officer on the street, stop and have a conversation with them. Good morning, sir. Good morning, madam. How are you doing today? they may not answer you the very first time because they may find it very strange, because we are not cultured like that to stop and say, "Hi, how you do?" When I travel overseas and I see police officers and I can go up to them and say, "Good afternoon, good morning, officer. How are you doing today?" Their response is, "Man, dude, I'm good. I'm cool, dude. How are you doing, man? All is well." Because they are cultured in that particular way. Jamaica must take note in relation to our security forces and begin to treat them like human beings. Because in doing so, it reminds them of who they are serving. And so when we find the ones who now are bad among us, then those ones are highlighted even more. And when they're highlighted, then we can take steps to remedy that situation. I believe it is high time that the narrative that the police is against the citizens be corrected. And for many years, the media, everyone has played a part in that narrative. And I'm happy that now is an opportunity for us to correct that narrative, because a part of the JCF are also our brothers and sisters in kingdom, whether we like it or not. And they are sworn to serve, to protect, and to reassure the people of Jamaica and our visitors. Our job is to help and reassure and protect them also. That, I believe, is a part of my job as chaplain, to reassure them, to ensure that I can secure them in the event that they need help. So as an assistant chaplain, that is a part of my function, to ensure that I can serve them, that I can protect them, and I can reassure them. Because trust me, if you think the civilians need reassuring, it is the law enforcement officers need more reassuring than us at times. Because trust me, sisters and brothers, they see some things that you and I will never see nor experience in a lifetime.
So you've said that, and I want to put it out there. Anybody have any questions or comment before I continue? Any questions or comment, guys? You can.
Natalie.
Well, go on, Junior.
I'm not gonna vote for Sir Barr. I'm not gonna vote for Sir Barr. Sir Barr doesn't need to start a party and me vote for you. God no. Yeah, man, because a real thing, I just believe that based on how you position the statement a while ago, I think they need to really organize a national campaign and get that out there. I think this information should be limited to let's talk. You understand, Natalie?
Completely understand.
The commissioner needs to know them of Sir Barr in the system with that level of knowledge when put it together. And do a national campaign, use of TVG and the rest of media will have access to. Because a lot of people really, even though we might have the knowledge, the entire system just really push that narrative on us, us against the security forces. Sometimes we even feel so personal, we feel like it. But you put it a while ago, Sir Barr, trust me, I vote for you, man.
But not like Junior, I think I didn't mean one. Like, I didn't want to say this is a PSA from the Jamaica Constabulary Force.
Yeah, the thing up, man. Yeah, man, the thing up.
But honestly, Robert, when I see police, I don't want to talk to them. So now, like, I just want to see one police car, I just start getting nervous. Nobody do me nothing. Have a reason for nervous. But as you said, it's a culture, and I'm going to make it an effort. I did get the opportunity to lead a police officer about to give me a ticket to the Lord. And I led him to the Lord. I led him to the Lord.
Hallelujah. Did he give you a ticket? Because I would. Because I know you were speeding.
I was not speeding to let me off. But
No, seatbelts, Robert, seatbelts.
You know, Farah was on the phone when the police officer not no seatbelts. It's one turn, but I think so you could have turn, and him say you couldn't turn. So, I'm just saying you are right. I don't think I've ever looked at a police officer outside of those who you're close to as human beings. It's like you're wearing a blue suit and you project one thing on them that, okay, you know, serious and busy. Yeah. So Robert, honestly, I'm not sure if anybody else is hearing this, but this is something though that, as Junior said, I wish it could get out there for persons to understand that they're humans. We need to look at them through certain eyes. We need to talk to them through certain, through those eyes of being humans, of wanting that level of respect and just caring. You care for me, I care for you. You said it beautiful, that if we deal with them as human beings, then the only thing for them to turn around to do is deal with us the same way, to reciprocate that same level of treatment. Robert, in you saying all that you've said, and we're going to close off very soon. Yes, we're about to wrap up. Is there anyone else who have a question or a comment about this journey, about this process, this 19, 20 odd year process that he's now in this position, been through different things to get there? And I just want to let you guys, I think this is what I've been trying to state, and it has been stated, that things happen in phases. You never get the full picture in one go. You get pieces, and you have to consistently work with what's unfolding and unveiling to you. The 3 pointers that you gave out spoke about fear, anger, and unforgiveness. That is like a message all in itself to unpack. I think DM says, for real, they are deemed to be iron and steel. The other side of the coin is that they too sometimes demonstrate the iron rule. That is so true. That is so true, DM. Is there any more? I think Facebook, I'm seeing persons just kind of agreeing, Robert, with what you've been saying. Yes, there's a sense of confirmation on the Facebook page. So, Rob, in kind of closing, talk to the platform and speak to us from the place of what it is to really have blinders. What am I saying? We become so distracted with a lot that's happening. COVID is still a distraction for the body. Like yesterday, a lady was on the news. 3 ladies were on the news and they were protesting. And the lady started to speak in tongues and go on for the police. Did you see the news, Robert?
Oh, yes, I saw the news.
I felt like I wanted to fight her. I wanted to jump through the TV and give her one nice lick. And say, miss, we can't take no more beating. The church can't take no more beating, miss. Miss, why you behave so? Like, I didn't really want to fight her. Like, I didn't want to fight her last night. But, yeah. How is it that we can stay focused? I realize that our focus is being shifted by many things. Speak to us about putting on those blinders and being deliberate.
You know, I wouldn't say to put on a blinder, Nats.
Go ahead.
I wouldn't say put on a blinder, because guess what? You want to see what is happening, both in the peripheral. You want to be able to turn at a glance and see what is happening, because ever so often when you put on the blinders, we don't see the danger coming from the sides.
Go
And
ahead.
an appreciation in terms of where are we going? What is the best road to get us there? Because the road that is straight in front of us may not be the best option. It may
Got
be
you.
an option to start out on, but we may need to detour and take a longer route to get to where we are going. But the end product is to get to the destination. Joseph knew that his brothers at some point in time would bow down to him. But it took about 20 years later before he understood clearly what would happen. And out of that, he forgave. So don't put on the blinders, because you need to see what is happening. You need to have an appreciation in terms of the way around. Trusting God is a part of the process. We spoke about in terms of hearing from the Lord, in terms of following his directions, but it really and truly never started there. Where it started really was in my room, when I never knew anything about God, when I never knew in terms of his direction based on his word. But it was out of a hunger for wanting to do what was right, but not only to do what was right, but to be in his will in relation to what was right. So therefore, I would say have that kind of relationship, which starts with the communion in relation to God's word. And of course, the word fellowship, that we have a quiet time with him. I think COVID-19 for some is a blessing in disguise. For others, it is a distraction. But I think sometimes we are so caught up with all the happenings that at this point in time, we may need the blinders to focus on God. But now, having focus on God, we need now to remove the blinders and say, all right, God, where do I now need to go? So spending time is important. Spending time.
What does spending time look like for Robert Barr, being a man?
Hear how my spending time goes. There are days that I stay up sometimes very late in the night, sometimes watching TV, sometimes doing schoolwork, but most often it is hearing what the Lord is saying. Because I can't do it early in the morning because I am now getting ready to move out, right? No longer live alone, so of course I don't have the whole house to myself like I used to back in the day, my entire room. When my mom knew that do not come into my room before 9 o'clock. If you don't see me, don't call me, don't talk to me. I don't want to hear anything from you. I can't do that now because of course, house is full and family and everything. So my quiet time is in the late hours of the night, very early in the morning between 1 and 2 in relation to my time. But not only that, many persons get into their vehicles and they commute through traffic and they are actually playing wonderful worship songs. Nothing wrong with that. But for me, my wife will tell you that my radio is generally off. And it's a time that I find that is very quiet, where I can literally be by myself in the vehicle, going to point A, and I am hearing what the Lord is saying. If I need to play something, then I can always play it. But that time is spent much in prayer from point A to point B. I remember one morning, a young lady called me and she said, "Sir, are you in office?" I said, "No, I am on way." "Sir, can I come and see you?" I said, "Sure." I said, "How soon do you want to see me?" She said, "Sir, I am on way." And I'm about to now put on something to listen to the kind of, just quiet my mind. And I heard the Lord said, "No, pray." And as I began to pray, I literally heard every single thing that this young lady was going through. Never spoken to her before, don't know her like that to know what she's coming to say to me. And when she began to speak, after she filled out my intake form confidentially, the forms and everything, and she began to speak, every single thing that the Lord would have said to me between Central Village and Spanish Town, she's relating to me. At one point, she withheld something else from me, and I just allowed her until she said it. And when she finished, I told her exactly what I heard that she needed to hear, which is God loves you irrespective of all that you have said and done. And God now wants to do a work inside of you. When I said that to her, counseling ended because that was it. She broke down and she bawled till tomorrow morning. And the Lord just healed her right into my office, right there in front of me. And I'm saying, only God could have done that. So the quiet time sometimes is not just for you, but it is for the person that you are going to come in contact with. Because all of us are professionals in our respective fields. The position that you hold is not for you. The benefits are for you, but the position that you hold is to help others and to help others live a God-fulfilled life. My 2 cents.
You're my friend, man. Robert, come up for this song. All right, Rev. All right.
And guess what? All of that, sister, is God enough. When I say God, I mean, and I take nothing for myself, because God is still working on me, right? I am still,
know.
yeah, man. I am still in the process, right? And when I finish all of this, I can almost guarantee that God might say, "Hey, remember the electrical that you wanted to do? You can go back and do it now, seeing that you finish a terminal degree." And I am getting that particular sense, right?
No, the logistics sense, like, but now, like, Robert, I see the whole heap of Korea, them and me and Chris are talking, and I say, Chris, why this feel like some friend for going or something, like, but soon build upon it and make you know.
No worry yourself, man. We have something on the ship coming out, it's supposed to roll up, zoom. Yeah.
Make sure some invested, please, because I know your role I'm in a day and night, we're gonna have a problem. So guys, I don't know what else to say. Robert, what you've shared is truly profound. It's truly word of wisdom. It's truly, again, let's talk family. Again, it's truly another push to say we have to do. Christopher said it, there are many of us who are in areas we have no business being in because we chose not to step and do what God has called us to do, whether it be for fear, anger, unforgiveness, or whatever other reason. And so, guys, the earth is waiting on you to manifest. Christina, Christina? You can go ahead, you can speak if you, I'm not hearing, I'm seeing the flashing. Not sure if you're trying to say something, but you can go ahead.
Just saying, bless the Lord, agree with what?
Okay, no problem. So, I want us to stay focused. I want us to not shift. I want us to not just go off. There's a lot to unpack in our lives, and we need to follow through. We really need to follow through with what the Lord is asking us to do. I really love Robert, and I'm going to share my last story just to make you know who this man of God is.
Can I share something before you share your last story?
Sure.
I want to big up my mother up on the line, she and Christian, and I go like, and she, big up Joan Chin.
Moms, are you that? Big up, mommy. So I want to share a story. So as I said to you guys, Robert and I are friends, and they used to live very close by. Still live close by, but they're running them short. And Christopher and I would have got into an argument, and I went to his house. And I just wanted space. And so Jerry would have known this, because Jerry, you know, I'm a dupes now. By this time now, me and Jerry close. And so I was at their home, and you know, I was a pass and thing, and time I get, and Robert walks out just out of midair, because Jerry and I would be at one side, you know, having our girls' time and our girls' conversation. And Robert walks out in the middle of the conversation. By this time,
What? Hold on, that. No, man. I wasn't home as yet.
Right. He came home and saw you there.
Thank you. Thank you. People of God on the platform. He walked around, so like, you know, you put on his stuff and you walk, come back out. Him don't know what going on. And Robert just looks at me and says, your husband know that you're here? And me look on Jerry, and Jerry look on me, cause me I wonder where this go. So I said, no, he doesn't know that I am here. And my wonderful friend looked at me and said, Natalie, pack up your things and go here. Come out to my house, please. Pack up your things and leave, because Chris no know where you're dead. Pack up your, a them type of friend there, my have. Robert, run me to me yard.
Right out are you, Chris?
That's because he knew that there was an issue, and he recognized that she was looking a means of escape, and he would not come into his house. My friend.
Guys, I really love Robert. He is that person, and you need to have people in your life who can be that level of correction for you. I say to us, we need to start surrounding ourselves with sound people, not with persons, not to be judgmental and critical of persons, because sometimes we look at persons start and think that's their end, and think that because someone started a particular way that they don't have any voice to speak into your life, because they don't have certain, what you call it now, astute, that's the word, that's the word go. But I am encouraging everyone on here, find people that are like-minded, find people that are hungry for God, wanting to go after God. It's not a fad, it's not a hype, it's not a trend, but it's a lifestyle for them. They're gonna make mistakes. You want persons who will see that you're gonna make mistakes and encourage you and lift you up and help you and support you in becoming the better you. You want persons to be a part of this journey. You cannot do this journey alone. No man is an island, no man stands alone. Christopher has a quote that he likes to quote: heights by great men, reach and kept, were not attained by sudden flight. Come now, Chris.
But while your companion slept, you're toiling right through the night.
And you need some persons like that. You need persons in your life that you know, you see things happening and decisions making. Sometimes the fear is gonna come in, but you know what I always say about fear: out of the fear and jump off of the cliff. Get things done. Don't let nothing stop you from executing. Robert, do you have any final words? Christopher, do you have any final words before we close Let's Talk this evening?
I would say, love God with all your heart and love people. Don't love who you want them to become, just love people. When you love people, they will become who God wants them to be.
Thank you, Robert. There.
Thanks, Robert. Thanks for just sharing that, just the powerful story. Really appreciate it. There's so much to unpack. I think, honestly, we have to listen to this again. Just to really, there's so much powerful things that were said. Kingdom again, on the move. Not around the pulpit, but in the social world, right? So emerging now, sacred and the secular. Anywhere you are, that's where your pulpit is. Bless you.
Let's talk family. And you know, I'm opening the platform. Anyone has anything to say, any final comments, any question, you can go ahead and do so at this time. Just open your mic or put up your hand if you want me to acknowledge you that way. You know, opening the platform. I'm looking on Facebook just at once again, seeing Miss Doss says, well said, sir. Marjorie said that was enough sense and truth. And we are seeing the chat that it's mostly agreement to what has been said or what has been discussed. Guys, thank you so much once again for joining Let's Talk. We start as how we close. And
I'm here. We're here in Japan, Stephanie and Shari. Robert's cousin, Stephanie. We want to just big up Robert, and were and Jerry. Yeah, we really love the discussion, really engaging. I think it is so timely. You know, we're here and we're always you know, looking at the news and what's happening in Jamaica, and you know, always, you know, commenting on things and pondering things. We really want to lift up the chaplains. You know, they have a tremendous job to do, you know, a tremendous responsibility. And we just want to bless them and pray for them as they support the men and women of the forces. It is heavy work. It is hard work. I mean, the work of the force is hard work. They're policing in a very aggressive society, a society which does not, I think, like to be, you know, told what to do. I don't think Jamaicans really love authority. And, you know, all the different things from, I think, colonial past and, you know, all of that. So they have a lot of work to do, but we want to bless them up. We want to really thank you guys for, you know, putting this out there. You know, it's food for thought and just an engaging time. So blessings. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming. Konnichiwa.
Big up cousin Steffi.
Yeah, really good discussion. Blessings. Keep it up, guys. This is the first time. I don't know if you do this regularly, but this is the first time to join Kingdom Talk. But really great. Blessings. Thank you, guys. All right, I'll close my mouth.
We're actually on Facebook, so you can go on Facebook, you can subscribe, so that way you can get notifications. Just type in Let's Talk Kingdom and subscribe, be a friend.
That's true, my friend.
Cool. All right. Lots of love and blessings. All
Thank
right.
you.
You're welcome. Thank you too.
Renee Mayer, you can go ahead. I see your hand raised.
Yes, I just want to big up my colleague and friend, Mr. Robert Barr, my former classmate. I am coming on the program, I think for the second time. I know I'm Sharika Anderson, and I was blessed by this evening's program. Just want to say, Sister Natalie, whatever your position is, just keep up the great work. Mr. Chris, you did a great job too being on, and I love the program. And this is Kingdom business, and we have to, sometimes we tend to look at just the, as Robert said earlier, the secular side of things, but God is in the midst of it. And I just want to say big up to all the persons who have played a part in today's program, and just to give a shout out to my friend and my brother, Robert. So all the best. That's the reason why I'm here today. So all the best.
Thank you so much for the support, Robert. I want to big up all Robert's supporters. Thank you so much for gracing our platform. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Facebook. And we are here every week on Zoom and Facebook, but you can also, like, for persons who want the opportunity to kind of just go back and revisit some of the conversations, which is what I try to do. I don't like hearing myself, but every now and then I try to go back because these conversations, they're full with so much. There's so much that is embedded in it. And guys, I want to see change. My drive and my aim is to see change. I do not desire that we keep on being the willy-nilly Christians and having insecurities and all the issues that we have and not see growth. And I believe that all of these people that come on week after week just to share from their life experience, because they're not saying that they've arrived, but what they're saying is that things are happening. And I can tell you that I moved from point A and I'm now at point B, point C and D, you know. We're not reached there yet, but we're moving. There is a movement that is happening. So guys, remember, you can go to YouTube, subscribe on my YouTube channel, and yeah, like, follow. We're also on Instagram and all the platforms except Twitter. But I end again the same way how we start. And blessings to all.
Jeffrey, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
The Pinky and the Brain. Yes, Pinky and the Brain.
Yes, guys, so that's what we do every week, every Sunday at 5 p.m. We are taking over the world. Enjoy your week. Have a fabulous week. Robert, thank you so much. Jerry, thank you so much. Mwah. Abby, big up yourself. Thank you so much, guys, for coming on. Again, you could have been anywhere, but you chose to be here. Enjoy your night. Enjoy the rest of the week. Bye.
Thank you for having us also.
You,
Blessings.
Bye.
you.
Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bless you, Natalie. Yeah, bless you, Chris.
Bless you, bless you, bless you. Thank you.
That's a Pina.
All right, bye-bye.